What's good, Albions? Hello, YouTube. Welcome in. And today have I got an interesting video for you. Or as you can see, I've got quite a few lined up. So I found this video here by Slacker, and it says, is Enlisted also dying of slop? I don't know why my YouTube bar just expanded. What in the wizardry is this? But yeah, is Enlisted also dying of slop? Now, if you're not aware, right now, Gaijin Entertainment is in hot water over how they've been treating the War Thunder game, community, so on. And Enlisted is another game that is run by Gaijin, and with infantry coming to War Thunder and a lot of assets and I'm assuming background code being ripped from Enlisted, dying of slop probably isn't the concern. Dying of forget is probably the biggest concern for the players of Enlisted, because if War Thunder's just putting all their eggs into one basket and ripping everything from Enlisted and putting it into War Thunder, I don't know if Enlisted is gonna live. Now, I've not played Enlisted. Listen, I like shooters, I like this type of game, but the fact that you control a squad and you respawn as your squad and all of that, it doesn't really tickle my pickle. So, I'm just gonna let this guy talk, see what he's got to say, and see what the situation is with Enlisted. Maybe it's like a heroes and generals type of situation, we don't know. So, tell me more. Is Enlisted also dying a slop? Let's have a look.
So, if you play War Thunder, you've probably seen the CodMineMan's video.
Yes.
Is War Thunder going to die of slop?
Which we just reacted to not long ago. Check the link in the description for that video, or check out the channel for that video and others like it. Haha, promo. Oh, God.
And he gives a lot of criticisms to how Gaijin is handling the game currently, and a lot of them are quite valid. And as an Enlisted player, it actually made me wonder if we could apply the same criticisms to Enlisted that he puts in for War Thunder. So let's get into it. The first thing he mentions is that War Thunder's gameplay is, if you really break it down, like relatively simplistic.
Okay, War Thunder's gameplay is relatively simple and the player experience relies on progression systems instead of rewarding interaction. Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know, it's really held up by the grind, but you know, you spawn, you move in, you die. You either get points or you lose points, I guess tickets. And it's a lot of the foundation really is, like I mentioned, the grind, but also, you know, the armor system, the points. So it's not like the game has really evolved a whole lot.
No, it's not. It's not. And at its core, it is still kind of just the same game that came out. I mean, yeah, okay, occasionally there are cooler game modes, but they're only ever used for like special events like the World Cup, tank football. There's also like a new mode being tested out at the moment temporarily. I think it's called Advance or something, and it's basically what was it, Rush? Is it Rush from Battlefield, where it's like take a point, the people who are defending defend some more, and they drop back a bit and the map extends and yada, right? They do have other modes, but they don't use them. They experiment with them and then put them back in the basket.
And maybe the game doesn't need to, maybe it does, but it does feel like the game is really held up by its systems. And if you understand the systems, then the game gets stale. And
I
some
suppose
people
so, yeah.
end up only playing the game because of sunken cost fallacy, because they...
Sunken cost fallacy is our tendency to continue an endeavor because we've already invested resources, money, time, or effort. Yeah, I suppose that is the case, right? But then I also think maybe it comes from, you know, a desire of players not wanting to give up hope. Like, they've grown sick and tired of the game, but at the same time, deep down, they still have that belief that maybe, just maybe, the game can redeem itself and they can claim back the joy that they once had for it, you know? It's probably the same thing that 90% of FIFA players have, to be fair.
Put so much time into the game, have so much stuff, they don't want to feel like they've wasted time by stopping playing.
Yep.
And can we apply this to Enlisted? Well, to a degree, yes. But at the same time, the CodMineMan even mentions Enlisted in his video. Okay. Because Enlisted does have a solid variety of game modes, some that are preferred by the player base than others. You have Invasion, you have Confrontation, you have Conquest.
Okay.
But I would argue the reliance on the system is still very much a thing. You unlock stuff in a tech tree, And once you get to the end of the grind, I mean, that's pretty much it.
But here's my question as someone who doesn't play Enlisted. How big is the grind, right? So for War Thunder, there's what? Hold on. America, Soviet Union, Germany, UK. Then we also have France, Sweden, Israel. Am I missing anyone? Italy, Japan. 9 nations to grind with like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of vehicles. You're gonna start War Thunder at 18 years old. You're gonna finish it at 40, and you're still not gonna have enough time to grind everything, right? So, what is Enlisted's grind compared to that? That is my main question.
You only really stick around to use the stuff that you've acquired, and also play events that come out, and possibly get new stuff when the updates come out. Play new front lines. And a criticism I would even give Enlisted over War Thunder is War Thunder at least has, arcade, realistic.
So, different variations of difficulty. Okay, yeah.
And simulator. Whereas Enlisted, I mean, the current game mode Squads is pretty much what I would consider to be like its equivalent of like realistic.
Yeah, but then that's kind of the same deal with other shooters though, right? Because look, let's just look at the big hitters, okay? Before they, I don't want to say lost their reign of relevancy, but for the moment of time when they were kings, okay, Call of Duty and Battlefield suffered from the same situation. It was the same game modes over and over again. COD, they spiced it up with zombies. Battlefield eventually spiced it up with the futuristic idea, and then the weird battle royale thing that they did, right? But at its core, it's the same. It's just play game mode, unlock weapon, unlock skill set. That's pretty much it, right? At its core, it's still the same. The only, again, I don't know Enlisted, so I can't talk about the different variations in game mode, but the only thing that really kept, how can I say, Call of Duty Battlefield alive was the great differentiate. Like, there was 10 different game modes, and sure, old school COD was like you had how can I say, permadeath and respawn, right? So search and destroy, you can play search and destroy with respawns, or you can play search and destroy hardcore. I think it was hardcore, it's been a long time. with no respawn. So there was a different variation, right? So I think that's what kept it alive. Whereas other shooters nowadays, it doesn't necessarily have that. So it does have the potential just to go stale.
Because you still have to set up your own squads and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Whereas, like, I've made a suggestion for campaign quick play, which would be similar to like arcade in comparison.
Okay.
So your main option is squads, and then there's custom games and mods. So while you do have more variety in terms of battle types, your game mode, there's only really one.
I do like this thing that he's showing off here, though, with Enlisted. It's kind of got that squad-esque vibe, how you can build your own like supply hubs and stuff. That's really cool. That's a nice touch.
And instead of having, reserve to 1.0 to 1.3, all the way up to 12.7, at least in terms of the ground forces,
right?
You have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with +1, -1 matchmaking.
Okay.
So I've kind of hinted at it as well a little bit, but the second point was the endless grind, the cyber treadmill.
Yes.
Where,
yes.
Either you're grinding all the content, like the tech tree content, and once that's done, you're relying on events or battle passes to really like maintain your time playing the game. And as far as I'm aware, please correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of developers or companies, they will use average player playtime as sort of a metric, once they're like marketing to investors about the success of the game.
Yeah, I suppose so. Like active players, that equals playtime rather than satisfaction, right? I suppose at the end of the day, they care more about, how can I say, they care more about the numbers than they do the satisfaction.
Not necessarily why the players are playing, but just if they're playing the game a certain amount of time on average. So yes, this is something that Enlisted and War Thunder very much share. Maybe the player base isn't actually like really enjoying themselves once they've been playing it long enough. But new players, yeah, sure. I think there's, a lot of people that once they start getting into the grind, it can be very enjoyable at the beginning. And then the big one is SLOP content, which, he doesn't mean AI. He means copy paste.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than hitting this bat about, oh, it's about the anime, it's about the anime, it's more thunder. No, it's not. You don't like the anime? Sure, that's okay. But you can't chalk this whole situation to, anime is killing my game. It's not killing your game. Let's not be silly. Let's not overreact over a few animated pictures. You know, it's not going to kill the game. let's be honest. You can choose not to like it, but let's not over-exaggerate one small thing, you know? Yeah, no, the copy and paste, I mean, they've justified it by saying, like, they've made an excuse from what I've heard recently, which was along the lines of, we did it so that we need more time to add in special vehicles. But then a couple of people have kind of pointed out, no, you're capping, you're saying that now, and then you've been forced to push out new vehicles as a way to try and use this as a counter-argument. About gaming politics.
Competitive. Stuff that's sort of intended for monetization. And it's not really something that feels like there's a lot of dev time put into it. So, for example, if we look at Enlisted's newest update, if you look at just the content that was put into the tech trees for unlocks, a lot of it's just like copy pasted like War Thunder vehicles. Yeah, no,
I've not played Enlisted, but I have heard that when it comes down to vehicles, they use a lot of resources from War Thunder, and it is literally just porting it over and copy pasting it.
One of the weapons is a weapon that's been the editor for quite a long time, the Suomi SJR.
Okay.
And the one new weapon is a larger caliber version of an existing rocket launcher, which I can't say whether or not it's like a new model from the ground up or they just started with the Type 4 7cm and just expanded it. I can't say, I'm not a model creator, but either way, that seemed to be the one real new thing that was added.
Okay.
And that's not to take away from the new Omaha Beach and Sword Beach maps. Like,
oh, that sounds cool. Again, it's not really a game that I would play, but playing on Omaha and Sword Beach, that sounds cool. Imagine being is it like a capture the point type of thing where you'd have to storm Normandy and then you'd have the Germans defending? That would be cool to play.
They're a great addition, but, you know, building a map from scratch using existing assets, you know, that's something that we kind of expect and hope for, but it's not like something new and innovative.
Yeah, no, I agree, but again, with the Enlisted side of things, like it's a tricky one, right? It's a tricky one because at the same time, like I kind of expect, like he says, I expect them to do it, right? Gaijin is a company, they see money. If they can save time by just clicking Control X to cut the properties from a War Thunder item, Control V, paste it into Enlisted, tweak a few things so it just fits the narrative of the way Enlisted plays, that's a win for them, right? Because the player base gets a new item so they can't complain that there's no new content. War Thunder saves time so that they can focus more time and energy on the cash cow, which is War Thunder, in comparison to Enlisted, because it's literally just copy and pasting. And then on top of that, maybe they can do the same with a few other things to get premium, which means more money, more freebies. The only thing I could see them really doing from the ground up is like that guy was showing off the new gun a minute ago, is getting infantry stuff. Because the only time I've seen infantry stuff in War Thunder is when it's been like a model that they've carved out so that you can use it as a decoration on a tank, you know? So it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one.
Which is what would really excite people, bring back old players. I think it's really relevant to talk about in terms of like how much that counts as content. It was obviously like some dev time, but it's not like a big draw, you know, like something new in a tech tree. Whereas a lot more of the dev time seems to be going towards things that are more monetization focused, which is what the CodMineMan talks about in his video on War Thunder. You know, expensive premium vehicles. We definitely have that in Enlisted. Just look at the new Skink and Kugelblitz.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That is like, I believe, $50 American, 70 Canadian.
$50 for a digital tank. See, listen. Maybe I've just spent too much of my life on the bottom tier of society financially, okay? And then I've only just been able to sort of live myself as a normal human being in the last, like, 10 years, and maybe that's why. And, you know what? I'm never going to judge someone. Look, if you love a game enough and you will dedicate your every being to it, sure. Go spend your money. If that's what makes you happy, as long as you're not hurting anyone, go do it. But I personally could never justify $50 on a digital item in a game when there is a free version in another game by the same company for you to use it. Like, you can get the skink in War Thunder just by grinding. Maybe that's my perspective of it because I am a War Thunder player and not an Enlisted player. Maybe you cannot get it in Enlisted unless you do pay. Sure. But 50 quid? That's mental. That's the price of a brand new game that could give you hours and hours and hours of content. That's like a week, maybe even, a week of shopping, 2 weeks of shopping for survival in general. That's like an electric bill. That's so, for me personally, I see that and think, holy crap, that's a lot of money. For a tank? Bruh, Gaijin, brother, I knew you were money hungry about women. See, it's got me moving my words. I knew you were money hungry, but I didn't know you were the goblin in the basement asking for more. Like, oh, that's a bit much.
Something like that. Battle passes, which, to be fair, the battle passes, Enlisted system's good. You pretty much buy one and you actually gain a little bit of profit as long as you play the game.
Okay, that's good.
Premium account incentives, that's a huge one that already exists in the game, but there's ways to only spend a little bit of money once a year if you buy it at the right time. Event grinds are a big one.
Okay.
With limited time FOMO.
Yeah.
Where,
same situation in War Thunder.
say for example, the D-Day event, you have to grind 25,000.
25,000 score in 2 days. Yeah, this is what they do. I remember I really wanted the Indian fighter jet for the British tree. It was a premium, limited event time. And they wanted 30 to 35,000 score every 2 days, and you needed to get like 8 of those tokens. So that means grinding it out to 30,000 score every 2 days, eight times in a row with no breaks. And it's just like, brother, I work 9 hours a day. What makes you think I've got the time to be dedicating to that? I've got a life outside of the game. What do you mean? And then it ends up in like, the players who have the time, they end up getting the wins, right? But then if you're an individual who, like myself, has an actual, a life outside of the game, you're maybe working full time, maybe you're a parent, or maybe you're at college, you're studying and, it's exam season, you ain't got time to stick into War Thunder. And then you just end up getting cucked by the developers. So I don't like this. I'm going to be honest. I don't like this event system.
Score every 2 days. To acquire limited time items that, for the most part, most of the time will be things that really you'll feel like you've missed out if you don't get them.
Yep.
Like especially the M6A2E1 this time. It looks like a pretty solid vehicle.
Nice.
All the weapons are really good. And of course the events can stack too because we have a Trial by Combat number 3 event. Okay. Where you complete tasks and you can unlock a couple of new weapons and also portraits as well.
Nice.
And so there's a lot of potential FOMO involved where it's not like you're playing the game because you want to, it's because you feel like you have to. Yeah. And I think to some degree, like these sorts of things are fine in a game, but it shouldn't be the one reason or main reason you play the game. It should be fun first. Now there's other issues such as neglected game modes or modes that seem like they're going to be half-baked on release.
Naval battles and infantry modes seem either neglected or dead on arrival or a combination of both. That's fair. I feel like naval battles they put a lot of love into, but then because it wasn't maybe perfect or showed enough potential on start, not enough people really clicked with it. And since then, it's kind of just been an abandoned area, right?
Looking at naval battles and War Thunder infantry. War Thunder infantry, it's hard to say exactly what it'll be at the end of the day. Yeah. But Enlisted's already kind of War Thunder infantry. Yeah. Kind of, sort of, a little different. Yeah. But for Enlisted, sure there was lone fighters. That didn't really work out. But I found the gun game, April Fool's event to be kind of fun. Okay. As long as people weren't camping in corners. And also the even fight modes that came out for a limited time. I think there was something to them that could be really appealing for like a new player who might be overwhelmed by what Enlisted offers. I kind of talk about that in Campaign Quick Play, how I would sort of approach that sort of thing, where you could make it, both an easier time for new players, but also something that leans more into historical accuracy.
Yeah,
So
that's fair. That's
the
fair.
biggest issue with that game mode, I would say, were like, you know, the balancing wasn't really on point.
Okay.
Which it's going to be hard for it to be on point when it only has 2 weeks of game time.
Yeah,
and then it
exactly.
Just goes away.
If it's only a temporary thing, they're not going to perfect it, are they? They're going to get it as close to perfect as possible, patch it when absolutely necessary. But if it's disappearing after 2 weeks, they're not going to go out of their way to make sure it's perfect.
And also the soldiers weren't even upgraded, so everything felt kludgy and, you know, not fun compared to fully upgraded soldiers in your squads mode. So, yeah. And he also mentions in War Thunder that the community is part of the problem when it comes to these sorts of things, because they will tell the developers with their wallet whether something is worth it or not. And, you know, such as purchasing the SLOP content or participating in these FOMO events.
Yep. It just entices it more.
Enlisted definitely has this issue as well. I'm definitely to blame to some degree with this too. I feel like, I don't know, sometimes I do it for the sake of like, well, what if I want to make content on this item? Like, I made videos on like the 1921 AC.
Yeah, it's a catch-22. In a situation like that, like looking for it through a content creator's perspective, it is a catch-22 because you don't want to feed the beast to make the beast stronger and make the problem bigger, but at the same time you kind of have to, because from the content perspective, it's like, right, okay, there's this new thing, I need to cover this new thing, here's my opinion on this new thing, show people this new thing, because A, it's relevant to my content, B, it's new, so it puts new eyes on it and the content, and it is a catch-22. It is a catch-22. If you're in a position where you are a large content creator, so again, let's just cherry pick a few, you know, CodMineMan, Fly, they are big names in the industry for War Thunder / Gaijin content creators, right? If they wanted to choose not to cover it, they wouldn't necessarily be at a loss, because they have already reached, I don't want to say the epitome, I'm sure you can go bigger, but they're already at their height of being a content creator in the circle, as it were, right? So, but if you're on the smaller side, you kind of have to pick at everything you can get. So I understand it from a content creator perspective, 100%.
Prohibition, for example, I have spent some money on the new gold box.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make sure I had, like, you know, more loadouts and more variety. But the gold box, especially, like, you know, while it's new and fresh, it's, I don't know, it's problematic to a degree. Like, I've had some really good luck, I've gotten some good value out of it, but it's also
good value. If it's anything like the Silver Lions Gamba boxes from War Thunder, brother, it's hard to get lucky.
So just telling the devs, like, hey, introduce this one thing, and, you know, players will just spend the money, so the game will be profitable without really innovating or creating something worthwhile. Like,
I hear that.
It's telling
I hear that.
Gaijin to a degree not to solve any of the problems that we've talked about so far in this video. So can we say that Enlisted has a lot of the same issues that War Thunder has, according to the CodMineMan? I would say yes. They're a little bit different, but...
Yeah, no, and you know, I'm not surprised. I can imagine there's a correlation, because yes, okay, they are two separate games, but they're two separate games under the same umbrella. They're both managed by the same developer. Sure, different studios within Gaijin are working on different titles. I get it, right? You're not going to have someone at Ubisoft working on Assassin's Creed and then maybe working on For Honor at the same time. Of course not, right? But at the end of the day, they're still under the same umbrella. They're still under the same moral compass. They're still under the same banner. There's going to be similarities in problems, 100%.
Overwhelmingly, there's a lot of overlap.
Yes.
And it does make sense. It's a Gaijin game.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And a lot of the solutions are the same as well. Like, make sure to leave reviews, discuss it on the forums, what is good or bad, demand gameplay improvements, you know, prioritizing quality over quantity.
Yep.
And, you know, when they actually do something right that players like, I think it's really good to provide positive feedback.
Yeah, push forward for that.
The community wants to maintain the moral high ground, as the CodMineMan mentioned.
Anakin, I have the high ground. Don't try it.
You don't want to approach it with any sort of animosity. You want to just guide the developers both with your wallet and cordially communicating, you know, hey, I don't think this is good. Hey, I think this is good. And as far as I know, the developers want to make money.
Yep.
So through the communication of mouth and dollar, they should eventually go the right direction.
You'd hope so.
As long as the community as a whole is unified in what we want, which might be the topic of another video. But ultimately, I'm curious what you guys think. Did you watch the CodMineMan's video?
Yes.
If not, link will be in the video description. Do you think Enlisted has a lot of issues that need to be fixed?
I'm not entirely sure, but it does sound there's a lot of correlation between War Thunder's problems and Enlisted, 100%. I just, for you, buddy, and your community and the Enlisted community, I just hope you guys can survive the integration. And what I mean by that is when eventually infantry is fully released into War Thunder, if it doesn't become the naval, where it's completely untouched and it does become fully integrated, I hope that does not mean that Enlisted just gets forgotten and they just let it die and then they shut the service down and then you have to play War Thunder to play infantry, you know? That would really suck, and I really don't wish that upon you guys. I really hope that they don't do that. But knowing game students in the modern era, game studios in the modern era, I would not be surprised.
The way it's going. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching.
No, thank you for the video.
And I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best as well. So that was Slacker talking about Enlisted, and, you know, it's an interesting take because, again, I've never touched it myself, but it's the same bracket, the same banner, the same umbrella as Gaijin and War Thunder. So it's very intriguing to see how there is an overlap, and it's not just a War Thunder problem, it's a Gaijin identity problem. It's the way they approach the situation, it's the way they approach the problems at hand. So it can be fixed. We just need to, you know, be the yellow brick road, as it were, line them along and light the way. So hopefully we can, as a community, for both Enlisted and War Thunder, and, you know, fix the games moving forward. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. We're going to move on to the next video in a minute. So for you guys over on the YouTube, make sure to drop a like, drop a sub, check out Slacker. The link to this video will be in the description down below. Make sure to go and send it some love. Is Enlisted also dying a slop? Yeah, answer the question in the comments. Let me know. But without further ado, I'm going to roll on to the next one. And for now, I'll see you in the next one. Ta-da!